In the annals of history, few legends have proven as seductive and destructive as that of El Dorado. What began as a sacred indigenous ceremony in the heart of South America transformed into an obsession that consumed generations of Spanish conquistadors, leading them into the depths of uncharted wilderness where many would meet their doom. This is not merely the story of a mythical golden city, but rather the tale of how greed and ambition can blind men to reality, ultimately destroying those who pursue impossible dreams. The origins of El Dorado lie not in Spanish imagination, but in the genuine rituals of the Muisca people who inhabited the highlands of present-day Colombia. The term El Dorado originally referred not to a place, but to a person, the Golden One. This was the chief of the Muisca, who would perform an elaborate ceremony at Lake Guatavita. Covered from head to toe in gold dust, he would paddle to the center of the sacred lake on a raft laden with precious offerings of gold and emeralds, then dive into the waters to wash away the gold, while his subjects threw additional treasures into the lake as offerings to their gods. When Spanish conquistadors first heard whispered accounts of this ritual in the 1530s, their minds immediately conjured visions of unimaginable wealth. If a single chief could cover himself entirely in gold dust, they reasoned, surely his kingdom must possess vast reserves of the precious metal. The legend began to evolve and expand with each retelling, transforming from a ceremony into a city, and eventually into an entire kingdom paved with gold. The first major expedition in search of El Dorado was launched in 1541 by Gonzalo Pizarro, brother of Francisco Pizarro, who had conquered the Inca Empire. With over 4,000 men, including Spanish soldiers and indigenous allies, Pizarro ventured into the Amazon basin from Quito. The expedition quickly descended into nightmare as they encountered impenetrable jungle, torrential rains, hostile indigenous groups, and disease. After 2 years of suffering, only a handful of men returned, emaciated and broken. Pizarro's lieutenant, Francisco Orellana, had abandoned the main expedition and became the first European to navigate the entire Amazon River, but found no trace of any golden city. The failure of Pizarro's expedition did nothing to diminish the legend's power. If anything, it seemed to intensify the obsession. Subsequent expeditions became increasingly desperate and brutal. Sir Walter Raleigh, the English explorer, launched 2 separate expeditions to find El Dorado in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. His first voyage in 1595 took him up the Orinoco River in present-day Venezuela, where he encountered indigenous peoples who spoke of a golden kingdom called Manoa. Raleigh returned to England convinced he had found the gateway to El Dorado, but his second expedition in 1617 ended in disaster when his son was killed in a battle with Spanish forces, and Raleigh himself was later executed for his failures. Perhaps no story better illustrates the destructive power of the El Dorado legend than that of Lope de Aguirre and the expedition of Pedro de Ursua. In 1560, Ursua led an expedition down the Amazon in search of El Dorado and the legendary kingdom of the Omagua. The journey quickly devolved into madness and betrayal. Aguirre, a veteran conquistador driven to paranoia by years of jungle warfare, orchestrated a rebellion that resulted in Ursua's murder. Declaring himself the wrath of God and Prince of Peru, Aguirre led his increasingly desperate followers on a campaign of unprecedented brutality, killing anyone who opposed him, including his own daughter when he realized their cause was hopeless. The psychological toll of these expeditions cannot be overstated. Men who had successfully conquered established empires found themselves utterly defeated by the jungle itself. The Amazon proved to be an environment that stripped away the technological and tactical advantages that had served the Spanish so well against the Aztecs and Incas. Disease decimated their ranks, supplies ran out, and the dense forest seemed to swallow entire expeditions without a trace. What makes the El Dorado expeditions particularly tragic is that the Spanish had actually discovered the source of the legend early in their conquests. By the 1580s, they had located Lake Guatavita and even attempted to drain it to recover the gold offerings thrown into its depths during Muisca ceremonies. They recovered some artifacts, proving the ritual had indeed taken place, but found nothing approaching the vast wealth they had imagined. Yet the legend persisted, pulling more expeditions into the jungle's embrace. The quest for El Dorado ultimately reveals the dark side of human ambition. These conquistadors, driven by an insatiable hunger for gold and glory, ignored mounting evidence that their dream was nothing more than a mirage. In their pursuit of a golden city that never existed, they discovered only that the jungle was perfectly capable of claiming the lives of even the most hardened adventurers, leaving behind nothing but bones and cautionary tales of obsession's ultimate price.